our commitment to our entire city is to make sure that we keep our community safe during any potential protest and give people the opportunity to express themselves. And shortly after we started monitoring the group, at approximately 7:30, we established that the group was unlawfully assembling by standing in the street, and we also received information that multiple vehicles in the area were vandalized, and we know of at least 5 vehicles at this time that were vandalized in the area by the group of protesters, and that included people from the group that keyed multiple vehicles. And we are still working on developing more information to determine exactly how many vehicles were vandalized during this protest. In addition to the vehicles being vandalized, we gave multiple announcements for the group to disperse, and that included when the group was standing in the street and unlawfully assembling. And we did that via our PA systems in our patrol vehicles, and we also used an LRAD device, which is a long-range acoustic device. And ultimately, we made over at least 10 announcements over a 2-hour period. And at the area of 51st Street and Folsom, we made 6 arrests in that area, and all those arrests were for an unlawful assembly. And at least one of those arrests, one of the protesters was resisting, so that protester will also be charged for resisting. And then the group moved south on 51st Street and was south of Folsom when they continued to unlawfully assemble on the street. And again, they were given numerous dispersal orders in that area, and people were given the opportunity to leave. And throughout the night, some people did leave after they were given that opportunity. And ultimately, in the area of 51st Street, south of Folsom, over the bridge there were a total of 79 people that were arrested. And since then, we have learned that one of those protesters was actually someone from the media, and he has since been released when we determined that did not meet the criteria for us being able to arrest him due to him having the proper credentials and being part of the media.
The Sacramento Bee report that you arrested says there was no way for those people to disperse because they were surrounded by police and were not allowed out.
Well, again, I'm going off of information I have. I wasn't on scene, but I do know that over a 2-hour period, our police department gave no less than 10 dispersal orders, and that was via our PA systems from our patrol vehicles and our LRAD devices. As far as the protesters being able to leave, I don't have the details as far as exactly the location of where our officers were or where the protesters were, but I do know that they were given multiple opportunities to leave.
What is different about this protest march versus other Stephon Clark protest marches where streets were closed down, property was damaged, and people weren't hit with batons, knocked to the ground, and arrested en masse?
So you're asking what's different than...
Yeah, what's the difference? Is there a change in the Sacramento Police Department's policy toward these marches? Is there going to be a more aggressive stance? Is it because this march happened to be in East Sacramento instead of downtown? What's the difference here?
Well, every protest, we make decisions based on those circumstances for that specific protest. So I don't know which previous protests you're referring to,
All
but
of them.
Okay, I do know that tonight, those are the details that I have. In each protest moving forward, we will evaluate the circumstances and make the best decisions at the time with the information that we have to make sure that we keep our community safe, and we also allow people the opportunity to express themselves in a peaceful manner without causing any harm to people and or causing any property damage.
Your officers knocked people down on the sidewalk with batons after we were told we would be safe on the sidewalk. Can you explain that?
Okay, I don't have any of those details. I will have to get an answer on that. I don't have any details about that. That's something that I will have to look into.
Vance, at previous Stephon Clark protests in this past year, there have been fewer than 10 arrests. You said 79 today. Can you discuss why 79 people were detained and are taken and have been arrested, and where are they going?
So tonight we have had a total of 84 arrests. There were 6 initially, and then there were 79 that were arrested, and then 1 was released. That was that person who was from the media. And they will all be transported off-site, and then they will be processed off-site. And those who meet the criteria of being released will be cited and released, and those who don't will be arrested and transported to jail.
Can you tell us this off-site location?
No, I'm not giving that out, just for the safety of our officers and everybody involved.
What criteria is there?
So there's a wide variety of criteria that one would meet to not go to jail, and that would there's a whole list. I'd have to get all those for you, but it'd basically be like if you don't have any outstanding warrants, you're not intoxicated. But I don't have them all in front of me. I'd have to gather that for you.
There are other working journalists who were present who are not here right now. Are you certain there are no other working journalists who were detained and are being arrested right now?
Well, as you can imagine, there's 84 people who they are processing right now. So the information is still very active, and they are working that right now. If I gather any more, I will provide updates, but the latest update that I do have right now is that there was 1 journalist who was arrested, and he has since been released.
How could you arrest a journalist with a press credential hanging around his neck while his colleagues are shouting you're arresting a Sacramento Bee reporter? What was the confusion there?
Again, I wasn't here, but what I do know is that we have learned that he does have credentials, and he is a journalist, and he has since been released. So,
and they were on his chest at the time he was arrested.
What's that?
They were on his chest in full view at the time he was arrested.
Okay, again, I don't have that information, and that's something that I will have to get answers to. But I can tell you that moving forward, that's not something that's something that we want to make sure that we do. Somebody who does have a right to be here as a journalist, we want to make sure that we provide them that opportunity.
And can when you we learned why when we learned that were knocking other reporters down?
Again, I don't have that information. That's something that I'll have to gather. That is new information to me. That's something that I'll have to gather.
Vince, there were 2 numbers. There was a 77 and then an 84. What were the additional?
So there were 6 that were arrested initially in the area of 51st and Folsom. And then there were 79 that were arrested near the bridge, just south of Folsom. And 1 of those 79 was released.
So did the reports of vandalism come in when the group was in front of the hospital? Is that why all of a sudden there was this aggressive stance by officers, or was it related to the individual with the MAGA hat who had his hat stolen and claimed to have been roughed up?
The information I have is that the information came in regarding vehicles being vandalized and vehicles being keyed was in the area near the hospital.
We're hearing that several names. I'm wondering if you can confirm them. Tanya Faison with Black Lives Matter Sacramento, Les Simmons, pastor in the community, Barry Axios, community leader. Can you confirm those names as among the arrested?
The information that I have, again, we have 84 people that we are processing, so I don't have all of the names right now, but of the 3 that you mentioned, I can confirm that Les Simmons was one of them.
Okay.
So Vance, 84 people, failure to disperse?
That's correct, and from what I know right now, again, we are processing 84 different people, so there's a lot of information that I don't have right now, but the information that I have right now is, yes, 84 for those, and then there's at least 1 for resisting arrest.
And to follow up on that, during previous Stephon Clark protests and demonstrations, how many people have been detained or arrested for failure to disperse? Do we it's just an approximation. Less than 10? More than 10?
I want to make sure I give you accurate information, and I don't have that right now, but I can get that.
Wasn't it closer to 3 total?
Again, I don't have that information. I want to make sure that I provide accurate information.
But it wasn't 84, so what's the difference?
I don't understand your question.
What is the difference between this protest march that resulted in 84 people, including a reporter, being arrested, and a series of marches last year where only a handful of people were arrested? Is it the location?
Again, I provided that answer earlier. I don't have all the details as far as the previous ones. I don't have those numbers. It's something that I can get for you. What I do know is I have the information on tonight. 84 people were arrested tonight, and our incident commanders and our supervisors on scene, they base their decisions on the circumstances that are in front of them with the information they have at that time.
Is there a change in policy about how to handle these protests?
Well, there's no change of policy that I'm aware of. Like I said, our incident commanders and our supervisors make decisions based on the circumstances at that time. And on the information I have right now is they made 84 arrests tonight.
Vance, this has just unfolded moments ago. Given what happened tonight, what plans are there in the days to come if this continues to happen?
Well, obviously, we are committed to making sure that we keep our community safe during protests. And we also want to make sure that we give the people the opportunity to express themselves. And we know that there's a lot of anger right now. There's people who are upset. So people have the right to express themselves. And we want to make sure that people are able to practice their First Amendment right. And most importantly, we want everybody to be able to do it in a safe manner and do it in a peaceful manner.
And can you say how much communication, if any, there was between the police department and the mayor this evening as the events unfolded?
I don't know about any of that.
Vance, there was a heavy law enforcement out here, presence out here. How many officers can you roughly say? I mean, there's CHP deputies and obviously SAC PD. Have you guys been preparing for something like this more so than since last year when we saw the demonstrations for Stephon?
We do have multiple agencies that are helping us, and we are very grateful to have their help, and we've been coordinating with them. And just for the safety of all of our officers and all of the outside agencies who are helping us, I don't want to provide those numbers.
Was the community in danger tonight?
Was the community in danger?
Yeah, you said your job was to keep the community safe, and that's why you ordered them to disperse. Was the community in danger from this group?
Well, part of what we know we experienced tonight was this group caused vandalism by keying cars. So at a minimum, we do know that there was a destruction of property, and part of keeping our community safe is making sure that there's no violence and there's no destruction of property.
Was there any violence?
I do know that there was a confrontation between the group and at least one person, but I don't have any further details on any other violence other than a confrontation that was a disturbance that I know of. And I know that during that time a hat was taken, but aside from that, I don't have any other details on physical violence.
There was confusion by some of the protesters as to where they were being pushed by the SWAT team. Can you talk about that? I understand some people had trouble finding out where police wanted them to go and to disperse to at the intersection over there.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't here, so I'm not able to comment on the details as far as where the SWAT team was or where the protesters were. I do know that our SWAT team is very well trained in dealing with these types of situations, and our officers as well. And I do know that we gave multiple announcements to the protesters to leave the area and advised them that it was an unlawful assembly, and that included at least 10 announcements, and that was done over a 2-hour period over multiple PAs from our patrol vehicles and then from our LRAD as well.
Vance, I think you're off on your 2 hours. It was about 1 hour because I was out here from 9 o'clock to about 10 since you weren't here.
Okay, well, the information I have is that the initial group, we really started monitoring them at approximately 7:30, and there were different areas where we gave them multiple announcements. And so there were announcements that happened prior to them being here at 51st and Folsom, and then there were additional announcements on 51st South of Folsom.
Vance, some of the individuals arrested are students, potentially young people, potentially even minors. We don't know. If people are concerned that someone they know, a family member, a sibling, son, daughter, have been arrested, how can they find out where they're going, where they'll be booked and let go?
Yeah, I could see that being of concern right now, and obviously we are processing 84 people, so I don't know who they all are. But if they are concerned, they are welcome to call our police department at 916-808-5471, and we will help facilitate making sure that they're in contact with them.
Were they reported cars being keyed, or who witnessed them do that?
So the information I have right now, again, this is all information that we continue to develop. The information I have right now is that one of our officers was approached by a property owner.
One property owner reported 5 cars being keyed?
Again, I know of one property owner that reported multiple cars that were keyed, and that's the information I have at this time. Again, that's still more information that we are developing because we know that multiple cars were keyed and vandalized.
You have confirmed that?
Yes.
The phone number you said is 916-808-5471.
Thank you. Any other questions?